So it is interesting, many times people only think the only path for intellectual property is patents. I think it is more glorified because there are so many law cases going on, by and large, that we hear about Apple and Samsung and Motorola, Google. But there are so many other facets of intellectual property that is not much covered in media. I guess it is more so. Hi, Professor. It's nice to see old professors that have taught me over the years. So in IP, patent is just one part. There are many, many other avenues that all of you will eventually walk and gain experience, learn and get a good job. How many of you are thinking of working after graduating from college? It is interesting that when I was in college, my only focus was looking for a job and less focus on thinking whether I'm learning what I want to learn or not. And that is one of the biggest mistakes every student does. I am glad that early in the days when I was a student, I was doing my Bachelor of Engineering, I realized that I want to learn the subject and not look into the job. I knew early on, after many, many mistakes, not that one fine day eureka moment, after many, many mistakes of I realized that mistakes that I am doing of just looking for the grades and not understanding the subject. So my request to all of you is moving on. I'm sure you already know about it. To understand the subject, trust me, I have felt it. It looks boring. It looks redundant. It looks, why do I need it? But you'll realize moving on, there'll be a time in your life when you'll get into the situation, the assignment that you're doing or the project that you're doing or the chapter that you're reading, it will help you. I realized first job of mine, after I graduated, the partner of the law firm, he gave me a paper, and that's it, and he walked away. And trust me, I was looking at that paper for 5 long minutes. It was like long minutes. I had no idea what to do. And then you step back, you relax, you collect all the education, learning, and experience, and then things come into you. This is very normal. I would walk you through my journey. I have a Bachelor of Engineering in Electronics. I worked as an electronic engineer in India. And soon I realized, I wanted to do something in computer science. I did my master's in computer science, majoring in computer security cryptography, wireless and mobile communication, and data mining warehouse. Jokingly, I would tell people that none of my software programs were working, and hence I thought I should do something better. But 2 of my software programs that I was working on for a wireless company in India went for patents. And then I thought, that's nice, that's different. And I wanted to do something different. And I thought I'll give myself 6 months. If I like this field, good enough. Otherwise, I have a software degree, I'm always going to fall back. One thing was very clear in my mind, always, that I would move forward, and the decision I have made, even if it is a wrong decision, I'm going to make it better. I would not give up. This was crystal clear in my mind. I knew when I left my engineering, which is drafting software patents. Being into specifically patents, you never leave your engineering or your science. You're always connected because you're in the patent field. I knew this for sure, that once I have left software programming, I am not going to go back, because I have taken a decision to venture into the IP world. I was very clear. No matter how long it takes, I would get a job. I would study for it. Fortunately, I applied, and Motorola hired me as a consultant, and I was working for CPA in India, CPA Global. Through them, I was working for Motorola. 2005, I came to US to work for Motorola, and I realized that I need to learn more. I was working in a law firm, and I knew that my next step has to now work in a corporate world. Law firm is amazing. Law firm is amazing because, at least for me, it taught me time management. It taught me that it doesn't matter whether you know the technology or not. The partner in the law firm is going to tell you that you have to work in this technology, at least in law firms that I was working on. And it is not because they just wanted to make my life miserable. I am hoping it was because they knew I can handle those subjects. As an example, when I was working in a law firm in US, in New York, I was working in mechanical devices, watch strap. I have drafted patent on touchscreen devices. I've drafted patents on computer security. I have drafted patents on hammer. I've drafted and responded to office actions on dialysis machine. That was one of the biggest projects that I was doing. And dialysis machine it's medical equipment. It is totally different technology altogether. But I'm glad that they gave it to me. I hope that was the vision, that they felt that I could do it. So you will experience similar things. You will think that this technology does not belong to me. I am of blah technology. I'm being given Y. This is very normal. It'll be difficult to understand then, but moving forward, when you will connect the dots, you will realize that there was a reason behind it. And always connect the dots. As you're seeing it now, it is too difficult, but moving on, as you walk through the process, of graduating from here, see what happened, learn from it. So Motorola happened, and I knew that I want to work in a corporate. I applied in many corporates, and fortunately SAP Labs, it's a German company, they hired me, and I worked in their Bangalore, India office, sometime in other offices. And my job was, to talk to the inventors, see what the technology they are working on, understand their technology, provide them the guidance where I think with regards to legal the technology is going to beneficial for SAP. Working there for a year and a half, I felt that the next step that I need to do in my life to take it to the next level for me was to get higher education. And when I was asking my peers, my friends, they, by and large, somehow or other, it was, apart from other colleges, every second or third person was mentioning Franklin Pierce Law School or UNH now. And I felt that this is what I need to do. And I was telling it to an earlier group in the morning that I was late in applying. I was very late in applying for the college. Fortunately, I connected through someone, one of the alumni, SP Arora. And I always remember him, and I always feel very connected to him because of him I am here today. He wrote a letter to the then dean that this boy is late, but I think it will be great that if you could enroll him in this semester. I knew that this is the semester, this is the time I want to, not next year, not year after that, now. And I made sure I talked to enough people. I wrote the letter to dean too, please accept my application for the semester, and fortunately, he did. Unfortunately, my loans and my money that I was looking forward did not work out. But in the bigger picture, those are very small issues. I'm here. People ask me, why did you just do MIP? Why not do your JD? And I would tell them in a humorous manner that I did not have enough money to pay for my JD. Nor did my parents had enough money to pay for my JD. But no matter what you do, you have to make sure, no matter what subjects you take, you have to make sure that you know it. Literally know it. Know it as much as you can, like in and out. This will help you so much in your career moving forward. And the subjects, whether I took drafting subjects or legal writing, whatever subjects I took, I would spend extra time. And also because I was too slow, I think I was very slow. I was dumb, not to understand the subject. I had to pay extra attention. My mindset was all about being an engineer. Engineer's mindset. Moving forward, when you work in a law firm or a corporate, you'll know that their mindset is wired differently. They think only in binary 0, 1. yes, no, small answers. But law is not like that. You can have your own interpretation. It was your skill to prove right, wrong, wrong, right. And it is a learning thing to do. But it was an amazing journey. I started applying early for jobs when I was studying here. And fortunately, I did get a job. It didn't last long, but I did get a job. 2007, 2008 was a tough time, but it was not tough enough. You'll always find, I personally think, it is an excuse. Recession, job, immigration, lack of skill. If all these things are there, then up your game, make yourself better so that you can get a better job, if not now. I remember during that time, 2007, 2008, many of my friends who were in MIP, realizing that the economy when they graduate may not be good or mature enough for them to find a job, they went back to they took additional courses. So that was an amazing thing. I wish I could have done it, but that's okay. So it was fun, I got a job. I knew that I want to work in a law firm for a couple of years. I think I worked for nearly 3 to 4 years in a law firm, Connecticut, then in New York. It was an amazing journey. As I said, they pay you good, but they make sure that they extract each and every drop, each and every sweat. But they really train you for years to come. I think one of the things that I think that I learned in a law firm, as I said, is time management. Because everything is billable hours, so you have to make sure if you're billing for 8 hours, you have to actually work for 10. It sounds difficult, but as you start working, as you start acquiring the skills, it is not that difficult. It was amazing to work in different technologies. I always tell the freshmen, people who are starting the journey, if you enjoy technology, if you enjoy reading, this is a very good field. It's a good field to see the future, literally see the future. You have a crystal ball of technology that you can see, and that's whatever you write, whatever application draft that you write with regards to technology is going to be the future. So make sure you are interpreting the technology well. Make sure you are arguing the office action that you get, or whatever documents that you get. Every word is extremely important. You have subjects in which they teach you how to write. Take them very seriously. I remember initially I was like, oh, come on, it's just a writing. But trust me, it'll help you to understand why that specific word is used in that specific scenario, specific document, specific technology, specific letter. So that was great. Law firm worked well for me. I knew after working for a couple of years in law firm, I knew my next step has to go back. I wanted to go back into corporate. And it is not that I decided to go back to law firm. Law firm said, hey, Saket, come on. The doors are open. I wanted to go to corporate. They said, wow, come in. It was very difficult. The road to any journey is never straight. It's like zigzag. If you don't like those roads, you better like it. There is no other way. In my mind, there was no other way. I knew this is what I wanted to do. I knew this is how I would get into it. And I made sure every part of me strived to do that. There was no other way not to think apart from getting a job when I was looking for a job or when I was in my work. Even now, when I'm working, my cell phone is in silent for that hour that I'm in. I'm not texting, I'm not calling. My family knows if they have to call twice. That means it is important, otherwise, just don't call. So one has to be serious, whether whatever you're doing. In my mind, I was extremely laser sharp focused. This is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a consultant. When I was working in a law firm, I left my law firm job. It was very difficult. I worked as a consultant for a year. I just wanted to feel how it looks like being a consultant. It was difficult, but doable. And then I knew that I wanted to go back to the corporate world. I applied for many, literally many companies, and fortunately, there were few offers. Fortunately, I picked Schneider Electric. I've been working in Schneider Electric for the last 6 years. I graduated from drafting the application, looking at the applications, helping, mentoring the engineers. My job now is a nice long title. I hope it means director, like senior business patent officer. I hope it means the director, at least in my mind. So my job is to review the technologies, core technologies of a certain dollar value. I review the core technologies, the projects, to see whether we can generate any intellectual property or not. I review the projects to see whether there is freedom of operation, freedom of practicing, freedom of manufacturing is done or not. I hope we are not copying someone else. So that is one of the key roles that I have. The other is to manage the budget. We have certain budget with the business that I look into is IT business. So there's a certain $1 million budget. My job is to look into where do we need to file the technology, do we need to protect the certain inventions or not, is the technology too old, and decisions like those. The interesting part is to see how the technology has shaped over the years. We have filed certain applications 10, 15 years back. Technology changes so fast. In my mind, technology changes in 5 years, and then the technology becomes obsolete. And so we have to make sure that the patents that we have are up the technology or not. Another interesting part, the role that I have, is to give presentations to VPs, directors, and the like, to help them understand why intellectual property is important and how to generate IP. As I said, engineers really don't like to document. They don't want to document what they think everyone knows and everyone speaks their language. But it is not true. You have to help them understand how to explain their invention, how to explain the invention in paper, not just in software or just in hardware, in paper, and explain it in such a way that lawyers like you can eventually interpret it and draft a patent application or do something about it. So that is a nice time-consuming thing. So that's what my journey has been. I've done this, so next step is you'll see maybe here in a year or so I want to do something different now. I am sure I will be able to do it in a couple of years, 2 years max. So any questions, please ask me with regards to job or how to get a job or how to, yes?
Could you talk a little bit about things that you maybe got right while you were here, or just things that were really helpful to you that you did, or things that you wish you'd done more, just this, in terms of preparing yourself?
So I think there are a couple of things. I knew the subjects I want to take. I was not taking those subjects because I wanted to get my credits. I had friends, they were focusing on credits. There's nothing wrong. In my mind, I wanted to learn and be able to use it in the future. So I would talk to Franklin Pierce alumni. I knew a few of them at least. So I would talk to them and ask them what is new, what are they doing in their work, and if they are hiring someone, what kind of educational skill they would need. So I was purposely taking those subjects. And to tell you very frankly, every subject is important, but it depends what you want to do. It depends whether you want to work in the patent office, USPTO, whether you want to work in corporate law firm. It depends what skills you want to acquire. My story cannot be your story or everyone's story, but at the same time, you can take the pieces that I have acquired over the years, which is to make sure that you understand the subject, you really learn the subject. As an example, I took patent drafting. And even though I would say that I had done it when I was working in the law firm, or when I was working for SAP, when I was working for Motorola. I was drafting patent application, I was responding to office actions, I was meeting the inventors, but still I took that course to get extra from the professors there. Legal writing, as an example. It really helps you to write good, informed letters or responses. And as I said, it would take me longer time. I'm sure you guys are much more smarter than I am, but it would take me much more longer time. I would spend a lot of time in the library and asking my other intelligent friends of how are they writing it. I would literally read their responses to get how should I write. So obviously it's not that just copying it, but to get a better understanding how my peers are doing it. So choose your subjects wisely. There's a reason why FPLC is so famous. And I was telling the class earlier, it is not famous, and I'm sorry to say, as an example, the Schneider or SAP or Motorola, any corporate is not famous because they have billion-dollar revenue. They are not famous because the CTO is star, or they're not famous because they have X number of R&D sites. They are not famous because they have 10,000, 100,000 employees. They are famous, successful, because of the people that they are working there. FPLC is famous because of you people, because of people who have graduated and what they are doing and what they are contributing to society. The work that they are doing. So whatever things that you learn today, whatever skills that you will acquire literally today, is going to shape your tomorrow and in turn FPLC. Make sure you take the right decisions and make sure you come back and give back to the college. And I was telling someone earlier that I'm not paid to talk here, so I can talk freely. And my mind is, and as I said, I had no doubt, when I graduated, and I knew when I'm successful, I would come back to the college, and in the hope that I could part my learning over the years and help others so that they don't make the same mistakes that I have done, or make their life a little bit easier. It is tough getting into college, getting up early, making notes. It is tough. Clearing exams are tougher. Finding job is toughest, but that is the only way. It was a long answer, but Professor,
no, it's a great answer. So I actually have another question for you. I was recently in Taipei, as I told you, for this alumni events, and one of them was a group of more than 30 alums who they decided to do a thing where they went around the whole room and everybody got to talk about some of their fond memories from this law school. And nobody talked about studying. I mean, they didn't have to because they're all successful and they're all there and it's fine. So the two things that came up, well, three things that came up a lot. One was have White Park, just be able to go walk there or skate there. What a treasure that is, which is great. And the other two were playing golf and learning to ski. But I like that. That's great to have some memories of some fun. So do you have some memories that you like to share about ways that you had some fun and kind of bonded with people outside of the studying hard, which we all want?
Yeah, so snow was, I grew up in India, capital, New Delhi. I was born in a small island. Most of the Indians even don't know. I was born in Andaman Nicobar. It's a series of islands. Port Blair, I lived. How do you know? Oh, thank you. So I lived there for roughly 11 years. And then I moved to the capital, New Delhi. But when I came here, the interesting part was the weather. It was so cold, it was freezing. But then at the same time, it was amazing. It was difficult to walk from where I was renting the place to the college. It was every morning were very difficult. But at the same time, I had a theory in my mind that my friends would say, oh, the weather is freezing outside. Oh, it's gloomy outside. It's raining outside. My logic was and is, if I can't change it, it's better to enjoy it. So I enjoyed it. I genuinely enjoyed it. We would go to the park next here, and we would just have fun. So that was an amazing time. It was difficult. In fact, I took a photograph when I was here. If you Google my name, BBC took that photograph. It is still there. Strange they have not removed it. I guess they really liked it. But that photograph was taken here, I think in 2007, 2008, and BBC still has that. So, apart from the fun memories that I have, playing with snow, the interesting part was that, like the free pizza and the lectures that is given. Many lectures I would attend because of free pizza. I would stuff myself. But, that is, the flavor of this is going to last you only for some time, and then reality hits, which is why you're here. And I'm glad that, when I was doing my engineering in India, it took me a long time to get that reality that I am in the college to study. Yes, Professor.
Perhaps I should know, but what are the principal products of Schneider Electric?
Yes. So Schneider is a French company. Well, French is just a company, but it has global presence. Last I checked, I think it has 170,000 employees, and I think last year the revenue was roughly $25 billion. They are into energy management and any form of energy, electrical energy that they could manage, we do it. Many of the hospitals we have are backup power supplies. Many of the utility companies have our equipments. Many of the metro stations in the world have our equipments to make sure if there is an electricity fluctuation, our systems are there to regulate it, manage it. In Krusk, that is what we do.
Does it have a trademark portfolio?
Yes, they do. So Schneider, interestingly, we have never been very aggressive with our patent portfolio, whether it is trademark, copyright, or patents. We have been very mellowed about our portfolio. We don't kind of flaunt about our IP portfolio, just the way it is. There are many companies, not calling names, they like to flex their muscles of how many patents, what kind of patents they have. I think it's just the culture of being very mellow, of not being forthcoming in what you have. But we have a huge patent portfolio, whether it is trademark, copyright, patents, and fortunately, and that's the reason I have the job.
I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to what kinds of things you work with the engineers on in order to, whether it's help document things that you need for patents, like what kinds of things do you have to teach them?
So I'm fortunate that I was an engineer first. I was in the lab, burning things and making things work. Then I was a software programmer, writing my codes. And now, in the legal field. So I kind of understand their concerns when we talk about patents. In the law firm, I was on the other side, and now I'm in the corporate, so I've seen both the sides. So this helps me give a better understanding, whether it was my education or whether it was my work experience. It gives me a better understanding of relatively what is their touchy spots, which spots they don't like. And I help them to understand patent is not just important for the company, it is important for them. We have Schneider, like many other companies, have a very generous reward policy. We help them when a patent is granted, approved, and there are many steps like that. We help them, reward them monetarily. So that is one of the incentives they have. But more than that, it is I have seen over the years, they don't like, as I was referring earlier, they don't like to explain in detail. Not that they don't understand, but they think it is, well, you should understand. Because they live with all the engineers who talk the same language, they have a problem coming down to a level where they have to explain the invention from this and then the invention. First explain what the technologies and then explain the invention. So fortunately, for me at least, when I am going to talk to an engineer with regards to his invention, I do my homework to understand what the technology is. So instead of asking the inventor, can you explain me what the invention is, I ask relevant question. I understand what your invention is. You are doing this, this, this. Why not this? So now we are in the same level. So that is very important. And when you'll work in law firms, you'll realize that billable hours, which basically means you have to ask the right questions. You have to write the right appropriate letters and questions. You cannot be vague. You cannot be broad. You have to be very specific. You have to be very specific with the engineers because that's how the brain works. Like it has to be very specific. Ask the right questions, and trust me, if you are actually, it's a normal saying, if you are talking to their language, they will talk in the same language. So you have to come to that level of understanding the concept. The other difficulty that we generally face is the projects have a certain time frame. Every project has a certain time frame, and they lose that time. They generally come to us when the product is going to be launched. In a month, the product is going to be launched, and we think there is an amazing idea we have. Saket, can you do something about it? So my responsibility is to make sure that we do not end up in this fiasco. I start doing my work early on when the project starts, when the project is in the whiteboard, when the project is in the drawing space, when they have started manufacturing it, testing it. So it is not, I do not meet them at the end. I meet them from time to time, understanding the progress on the technology. And one concept we have filed, and we always do many patents on the same concept, because as the project is evolving, and then they realize that the importance of the work that I do and the importance of work more than I do, they do. They realize that yes, there is something called intellectual property, and there's a reason why they need to protect it, and it is beneficial for all of us in the long run.
During your time with UNH, did you also engage in some kind of an externship?
So the question was, did I do any internship? I didn't. It is a good. It is logical to do it. It is good advice to do it. I didn't feel the need of it because I already had acquired, working experience in both law firm, international companies. So I thought I'll be wasting my time. To tell you very frankly, I thought I'll be wasting my time going for internship. I wanted to, graduate as soon as possible, and also because, as I said, I had the working experience, and I knew if I miss this, I'm not missing the train. I would be able to find the job. But I think it is advisable because it gives you a good understanding of how the real world works, and it gives you a good opportunity to network in wherever you get your time to go for internship.
Questions? Okay, maybe we'll wrap up, and some of you might like to talk with him if you have time to
Yes.
stick around informally. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.